Hey everyone. So I got a request to help people with a very specific type of problem and a very specific posture. I am in my house today recording, so ignore the finished flag and the board games in the background and of course the Christmas tree. We are doing cleaning for Christmas. To start off, I want to say that if you don't have this particular posture, I don't recommend doing this just because it's not for you. It's not made for your body. If it's uncomfortable or too uncomfortable or creating too much pressure in any way, stop. This is made for someone who has sway back posture. So I'll try to link an image here, but typical sway back posture is your hips are forward and your back is rounding. And you're kind of leaning back in the upper body and pushing forward in the hips. This hurts my back. This is the position that my body is in. And so what we want to do is we want to teach the body how to push backwards again and then how to lengthen the spine. But this middle, this upper lower portion of the spine, right at the L1 T12 kind of junction, is usually what gets pretty tight on people. And I personally get locked up there. And what we need to teach our bodies how to do is how to push that space backwards, but release the muscle tissue. So the muscles they're still trying to contract to help, but there's just so much pressure, it's uncomfortable. So I use a couple of these balls. They're called massage therapy balls by Active Prozone. I got them for Christmas a long time ago. I don't remember who or where. They are large. They're like lacrosse ball size, maybe a little bit bigger. They're firm, but they're also soft. There's some play. You can see I can squeeze it a little. And we're gonna place the balls just below the discomfort line. Try to imagine that kind of a lower lumbar area, and we're gonna need a foam roller too. So what we'll do is we'll place those balls just below that line, kind of right where the back starts to arch, because usually people that have this problem, they have kyphosis, so they're rounding in the upper body, but then they're pushing their hips forward in the lower body. So I'm gonna put those right kind of in that discomfort space. The foam roller here is going to support my upper back. I'm going to roll it forward and support my head and my neck just until I can start to feel some pressure on those balls. And I'm going to lift my hips a couple of times, just try to find where that pressure needs to go. I might drop my knees a little side to side to try to release some. And sometimes if it's really bad, I'm probably at a 2 right now out of 10. Discomfort, like it's noticeable. It needs to be taken care of before it gets bad. And I'm going to just sit here and breathe for a second. And I already feel it relaxing, like just having some pressure. And it feels like it needs to go up just a little bit. So I'm just going to roll myself down. Now my head is nice and supported by this foam roller. Take a couple deep breaths. And then kind of what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to start to roll up. So the balls are going to roll down my spine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of contract two things at once. I'm going to attempt to arch my upper back. So I'm trying to lift my chest. I'm making the movement big so you can see I actually got a couple pops just doing that. So I'm trying to lift my upper chest, but I'm trying to drive my lower body into the balls or just below the balls. So I'm lifting up with my chest, which is really hard to do. And then I'm trying to push those balls in, and my hips are starting to come up. So I'm going to try and like keep them down because I want my hips to push down and back. I don't want my hips to push forward. My hips are already forward. So I'm just putting more pressure, and it's not a lot of release. It's just enough release here. And then I'm going to roll down a little bit. I'm going to find another little spot. And if the balls get uneven, you might have to pop up and just make them even again. You can also put them in a sock, and that will help keep them together. I highly recommend wearing clothes when you do this too, because it gives them something to grab onto, but they can also kind of get fumbled in your clothes. I'm just going to breathe for a second. Maybe rock a little side to side if it needs to be released that way. And the balls are really close together. They're almost touching. And I'm going to try and expand in my chest, lengthen in my spine some more because I feel like I need to be stretched out. And then I'm going to try and push that part of my low back and hips even. So I'm really squeezing right here and pushing it down into the ground. My hips aren't coming up, and then my chest is lifting up towards the ceiling, and my spine is lengthening. I'm going to breathe a couple of times with it. and then I'll scoot up to another spot. So mine release pretty quick because it's not too bad. Sometimes this takes a few rounds. I also recommend, if you've never really done this before, if you've never done any of the rolling, just practice rolling. So see, I got a pop just doing that. I have not done that yet. But even just rolling on the foam roller on the upper body, and kind of doing some chest openers. So see, even when I open, my hips want to really arch back. We got to pull those ribs in and down and let the chest still expand and open at the same time. It's a big conundrum, but this is a kind of a little nice little myofascial release that you can do to release that low back space. I like to follow this up with a strengthening exercise. Something that our bodies have a hard time understanding is how to bring the hips up. So we start, if you've never done this before, you're going to start in a forearm plank. So down on your elbows, I'm going to scooch forward, and then you can see my hips are nice and high. So I'm not letting them drop way down here. Although this is more challenging for my core because I'm pretty strong. We want to start up pretty high and then just slowly start scooting your hips back until you feel like you can get really flat in the back. So normally I would be like this, my upper back would be rounding. I'm trying to push my upper back down towards the ground. I'm trying to pull my belly in and lift and push my hips up to the ceiling at the same time. So it's kind of like I'm fighting myself. I'm going in two different directions at once. And then of course you can make this harder by lifting your legs. And I kind of just like to hold for a few seconds and get long in the spine. Try to lengthen that low back out. So you can see my hips are trying to lift and lift up above me to compensate. I'm going to try and draw them back down again and see if I can't lengthen. I'm having a really hard time lengthening today. I'm just super tight from my workout on Tuesday, 2 days ago, yesterday, goodness. And then drop back down to my knees and then take a sit back. I like to do a little child's pose because that brings your butt up in the air. So again, it changes your hip position and then your chest down towards the ground. And you can think about here, you want to really think about pulling the ribs in. So you're getting a stretch in the upper arm. So I'm kind of almost rounding my back a little, but I'm rounding in that space that's uncomfortable. So I'm not trying to round in the chest. I'm trying to round way down here in the middle to low back space. So again, that is some myofascial release and a follow-up exercise that you can do for sway back. I highly recommend finding someone who is a qualified bodywork person to help you with this stuff, someone that can actually watch you while you're doing it. So then you have the ability to have that feedback, like, hey, you're not doing that quite right. I do offer services online, so if you need an online training, you're always free to give me a call, schedule a consultation. I'll put a link in the description below, and I'd be happy to help you with that. We can work out the bodywork stuff together so you can do that on your own and get familiar with it, and then we'll go into some workout sessions that will help to rebuild the structure of your spine. And I can already tell you, like, the spots that weren't getting blood flow, they're kind of tingling now, almost like they're going numb a little bit because they're not used to being in this position. So I'm probably going to have to hit that myofascial release one more time and probably this exercise at least one more time. But your body gets used to it and it will start to adapt, and then your brain will catch up and realize, oh, this is the position I actually need to be in. So thanks for joining me in my home. I hope you all have a lovely Christmas. Anyone that watches this, good luck. And again, let me know what you think in the comments below and what your spine looks like and feels like after you do this.